right, welcome into a Sunday night edition of Pugs Moran live here on the Radio Misfits Network. For all your podcast needs, for all your time, waste, and fun, you can find a bunch of stuff there at radiomisfits.com. Tell them I sent you, why don't you? All right, so this is, I guess it's been 1 week now. This is 1 week of whatever it is that we're calling this. We got all new equipment. Our phones should be working great. Boy, what a difference a week makes, huh? Still got nothing back there. Still the joke of Room Raider, but trust me when I tell you, we got stuff coming. It's gonna look nice. We got a plan. And if that doesn't work, I'm still gonna go to Spencer's in a mall and I'm gonna get a bunch of crazy posters and we'll put those back there. Maybe make this look like the emotional 13-year-old that I truly am. Did you have a good weekend? I did. I had such a great weekend. And I have to, about 2 minutes late getting on the air. That was because something happened right at 10 o'clock. I was literally reaching over to hit the go live button when my phone rang. So I paused because we're expecting a very important call. And I looked, and it was my kid. He's just going to bed. He had a good weekend. He just wanted to tell me he had a good weekend. And, you people can wait. You people can wait. If my little 12-year-old wants to tell me that he loves me and that he had a great weekend and that there's going to be a great week coming up, I'm going to let him do that. But then I did the heel move. I'm like, I go, oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, buddy. I love you too. Hey, I'm about to go on YouTube and Facebook, so all right, just write that down in all my parental crimes, and boy, do I have another parental crime that I want to get to today. If we don't get to it today because of current events and the way they're going, then we'll get to it tomorrow night. That I promise. Because oh my goodness, did we have a weekend? Now the first thing you need to know is the show is only streaming now on the Pugs and Company page. That's right. So it's over on Facebook on Pugs and Company. You can find us there. You can also find us on YouTube. That's the Pugs and Company page on YouTube as well. Or if you're having difficulty on YouTube finding us, because again, as I say, a lot of dog pugs, they got shows too. You can just go to the link that we've got up there on the screen, the web link that says pugscast.com. That'll deliver you right through the front door of what we're doing there on YouTube. Also, somebody said, if you have trouble finding me because of, the Pug's name and the dog breed, you can just put Moran and Company and just eliminate the Pugs and you get rid of all of those dogs. All right, first, how's Beard coming in? Beard's coming in. Beard's doing okay, I think. I'm a little bit worried about the coloring because every time I completely shave it and then grow it back, it comes in a different shade. It's a little white, but this is 1 week in progress. And last week when you saw me had a mustache, a lot of people were like, "Oh, mustache!" I was wearing it ironically. No, I wasn't wearing it ironic. I was just doing a mustache. I just thought I got to shave my beard because it's turning into straw. So leave the mustache. So I did. Okay, had a great weekend. How about you? You may notice that I do not have a drink with me. All right, we're going to have to. Oh, we're also streaming live into Twitter too. So you can follow me on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I left Facebook about 3 years ago and just went completely to Twitter for, I don't know. I don't know why. It's just that I got too beat up by Facebook. I just got too, it just became, but I came back recently and I had a lot of fun and I thought, maybe we should do something on Facebook. So we're doing this show on Facebook but also on Twitter. So you can follow me on Twitter at Pugs and Co. Not Company, at Pugs and Co. Or you can just search Pugs Moran. Pretty sure I'm the only one that comes up there. Although not completely. Let's see what we have going on here. All right, that's correct. Don't forget, we do a show every day at noon as well. The noon show is more topic driven, so it's everything that you need to know that's happening in the day. We talk about it, water cooler conversation type stuff. Try to be non-divisive. Try to not be political. That is absolutely nothing that I am interested in. Although in this world, you can imagine that's kind of difficult. As hard as I've been trying, again, 3 things that nobody wants to know about you: your politics, your religion, and how your vacation was. Nobody cares. 4 things. Dreams, too. That's right. I always forget about dreams because I'm such a narcissist that I think that my dreams are like Scorsese films. But the rest of you, oh my God, just a bunch of grindhouse crap you're chumping. Me, my dreams are deep and meaningful. And there is a greater idea behind your dreams are like slasher flicks, just, absolute garbage time wasters. Sure, they can be enjoyable and you can have a good time, but let's not kid ourselves. My dreams are the Scorsese of dreams. And even I won't share them with you. Even I won't, because that's, again, nobody wants to hear. I barely understand my dreams. How can I expect you to? I got no drink tonight. I'm not drinking tonight. I'm drinking coffee because I understand coffee is good for what ails me. And what ails me is a splitting headache. I have a splitting headache tonight. And I've already taken some sleep medication. Look, full disclosure, I'm a part-time dad. My son has a wonderful stepfather and a beautiful mother who's just killing it in the mommy department. But I am not the full-time parent. I do not get that privilege. I look, he's doing so well. All I could do is screw it up. But I do get him on weekends, and now that I'm here, we're spending a lot more time together. And oh my God, it's such a mood changer. I mean, I think I told you all last week about how I was so excited about getting my kid this weekend, and it was really the first weekend that I've had him, because up until moving back here and launching this project, he and I had I got him for the summers and I got him over Christmas, and we Skype and all of that every night. And then when he got a phone, we started texting all the time. So but that is nothing. That is heart-wrenching. So I came back, and this was the first time we ever got a weekend thing going on. And we had an absolutely wonderful time. But some of you other dads, you might know about it. It's called the Sunday evening blues. And boy, did I get hit with them today. I thought that maybe I wouldn't. I used to get devastated on the day that he left. You gotta take your kid to the airport, especially because of the distance. So he flew alone like a champ, like a little champ. So proud of him and everything he does. Bragging on my kid. Oh, like you don't do it. Like you don't brag on your own kids. Indulge me. I've got a splitting headache. I've already told you that. I'm suffering from the Sunday evening blues. Everybody gets them because, isn't Sunday evening the absolute worst evening of the week? It's like the weekend's over. All your grand plans were either realized and now they're done, or you failed miserably and did nothing but lay around on the couch and watch, Netflix shows. But for us single dads or separated dads, part-time custody dads, or however you want to phrase it, Sunday evenings are the worst. They're so sad. It's like the house has life when the kid is here. The house is alive. It crackles. There's laughing in the other room. There's I hear him bouncing balls off the wall. He's a 12-year-old boy. I hear all those things, and it's just so we're lucky to have a pool right here on the property. And he just runs out and he dives in the pool, and I hear that while I'm working in the other room. It's wonderful. But I didn't think I was going to be hit by the same level of bummerness that I used to get when I take him to the airport and put him on the plane and then drive home all by myself. I've never been someone who worried about plane incidents, right? Never. But when you put your 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kid on a plane, oh my God, you track it the whole way. You just, all right, I got to know when he lands. I got to know immediately when he lands. So you got the flight tracker and you're constantly refreshing. Dads, and even some of you moms, I don't mean to be exclusively for fathers here, but man, what a thing. The Sunday evening blues. Well, I got him again. It was, I didn't think it would happen because, now we see each other all the time. Maybe it's just, like emotional reflex. Maybe it's just something that my body thinks is how it's supposed to feel when I drop him off. But whatever it is, it has given me a splitting headache. So no drinks tonight. I'm not going to be indulging in any of my typical brown sauce, the house liquor. That's so I'm having coffee. Yes, I know. I said I already took my sleep pills, but I'm having coffee because I hear caffeine helps headaches. At least it does for me. Let me put that down. Look, I would be remiss if I didn't discuss all of the things that are happening in the world. And right now, the most important thing that's happening is happening to Louisiana, Mississippi. I don't want to be, again, exclusive to the folks there in Mississippi, parts of Alabama, the Gulf Coast. The Gulf Coast is just getting its ass kicked at the moment. We're going to go live, or at least we're going to try to go live to New Orleans. We're going to talk to our buddy James Parker, Talcum X, Westwood One radio personality, and old producer of the Pugs and Kelly show here in Dallas. I've been talking to him all weekend. And initially, I've got two friends in New Orleans. I've got my friend Robbie, and I've got my friend James. And my friend James, now, he's wired cynical by nature, so he wasn't really, he's like, it's New Orleans. This is what happens. It'll just be a storm. No big deal. We're not worried. And I talked to my friend Robbie. This is going to suck. I got a generator, but how long is that going to work? His beautiful little daughter, Olive, is like erected a safe room in the house just in case things go haywire. And I just couldn't imagine that. I come from the Midwest. I come from tornado country, right there, Tornado Alley. The sirens go off. You look around. If it's coming, you don't worry. If it's coming, you just get the hell out of there. That's all. And it's over. Passes right through, no problem. These hurricanes, boy, these are a completely different animal. I don't know what that's all. I couldn't imagine. I'm not good with weather things. Earthquakes, too. I don't think I could ever handle an earthquake. Never been in an earthquake. I've had friends who experienced earthquakes, and maybe it's just because they like to tell me a good story. But they talk about how feeling very apocalyptic, very unsettling. Hurricanes got to be the same way. How could you handle sustained winds of 100 miles an hour for that period of time? Well, like I said, we're going to check in with James Parker. We're going to find out exactly what's going on down there in New Orleans. Sorry, didn't mean that. Accidentally hit the wrong button. I was trying to do something else. All right, well, we'll get it figured out. We're going to check in with James. As a matter of fact, let's try and call James now. Let's see if he's around. We're doing this very professionally. James, you might remember Talcum X, the rapper on our show. Well, he was so much more than that. He was just such a talented producer. Funny guy, did a lot of good things. But he's down there in New Orleans with his wife and his 50 kids. Here we go. Let's see if he answers. I don't know if he's gonna, but we shall see. I've seen one person dead so far, but those numbers could change. He wanted to do video too. He's like, no, we can do video. So now I can't get him to answer the phone. We'll see how this works.
Hey, this is James Parker. Sorry,
okay.
I would tell you to leave your name, your
Should
number.
we leave a message? We'll leave
a
message.
My phone's telling me what the number is. So you don't really need to leave that, so just do whatever you got to do.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
How was it that you said we were going to do video, and then I've called you 3 times in the last 10 minutes, and you can't even answer the phone? What are you, in a hurricane? All right, look, don't worry about it. Take care of your family. Just call me back at this number. This will get you right through. All right, thank you. There he goes. This is James Parker. He's the guy that I told you. He's like, it's not a big deal. I've been through these. He was down there for Katrina, and I went and visited him at his home 2 years after Katrina, and it was still just trashed. I had people say, no, that's just New Orleans. I'm like the one guy on the planet, I think, that didn't love New Orleans. I can get it for a weekend. I know how I can have fun anywhere. You can have fun anywhere as long as you got the right people with you. And sometimes, even if you don't have the right people with you, you can still have a good time. But, I've been in New Orleans a couple of times now, and every time I go there, I'm like, it's humid, these bugs everywhere. And the one thing that I couldn't understand is that in the show place section of New Orleans, right across from this beautiful casino. Beautiful. Let's say beautiful hotel, and then there's a casino there, and it's right, adjacent to Bourbon Street. There's like this giant abandoned skyscraper, like right there in the middle of that, it's a skyscraper, and there's like barbed wire fence around it and condemns. I never understood that. I'm like, how does that happen in a major city? How do you just let that occur? You can just take it. Although I imagine with the way nobody is working in downtowns anymore and office spaces at all-time low prices, we'll probably be seeing that in cities like New York and Chicago as well. But I had a great time partying in New Orleans. I had the humidity, and it seems, ugh, I don't know. All right, let's see who's joining us in the chat room today, as you chatters are certainly important. And is this a chat room? Am I calling this the wrong thing? I don't know what I'm supposed to be calling this. I'm just seeing sort of a married thread of people from both YouTube and the Facebook pages. And I don't know, I'm calling it a chat. I suppose that's good enough. Oh, there he is. All right. All right, here we go. James Parker, you're on the air.
Hey, Pugs.
Ladies,
how you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is James Parker reporting live from the storm in New Orleans, Louisiana. No, how are you? Not how am I? Tell me, give me your best broadcast. Paint a picture for me. Tell me what's happening there.
All right. Well, me personally and my family, we're all fine. We're about 6 blocks from my house at my mother-in-law's house.
Now, why are you not at your house?
All right, 2 reasons. One, our house is on the ground. So if there's any kind of significant flooding, we'll be stuck in it.
As opposed to what? Those fabled floating houses we hear about in New Orleans? What do you mean on the ground? What does that mean? All houses are on the ground.
No, they're not. This one's about 3 feet off the ground, and it's pretty common in New Orleans.
Are you talking like stilts, sort of?
Yeah, they're raised houses.
Okay,
there's a lot of raised houses, and it's just for this reason. It does flood a lot here. It doesn't have to be a hurricane for this place to flood. So there's quite a few people who have their house on stilts, and then they like park their car under the house and walk up to the house for just this reason. But they also have a generator, which is more important, because if you have a generator, that means you have a refrigerator and air conditioning.
Why don't you have a generator, an old hurricane pro such as yourself?
No, I don't have a generator in my house.
Why not? I mean, isn't that something everybody has? Or is that just a luxury that you and your 15 kids can't afford?
It's definitely a luxury. They've been more popular as of late. But, the generators are kind of a weird thing, because it's something you're going to spend a few $1,000s on for. Okay. You might use it once every 2 years. You might use it 3 times in 1 year. But, if you're a person who evacuates anyway, what do you care? The only thing you really lose is the food in your fridge.
Now, let me ask you something. Why did you say that with a sneer of condemnation? What do you mean if you're one of those people who evacuate? What exactly does that mean? Do you look down your noses at people who get the hell out of, what are you saying there?
No, not at all. Not at all. There is a little bit of feeling like those people are quitters, but I don't I don't have any ill will toward people who evacuate.
Come on, you've got ill will towards everyone, so there's nothing special about people who evacuate, right?
Well, I don't understand how people can do it, because I look at my house and I've had it for 9 years, never missed a payment. I've put like $194,000.
That's a weird brag. That's what you're getting it out there. What are there people spreading talk about your bad credit behind your back or something? You had to get it out there. We assume that you're a responsible homeowner, but continue.
Well, it's almost like a child at this point. I've spent almost $200,000 on this home in the last decade. I'm not going to go off and go on some vacation while my life is being destroyed here. My life is going to be destroyed. I like to have it right in front of me so I can see with my own eyes. And there's also the problem of once you get out, you have a hard time getting back in. So if the streets are all flooded, how can you get back to your house if you're in Texas or Hattiesburg or whatever?
So while you're bragging about all the money that you've put into your beautiful home down there in New Orleans, Louisiana, which any moment is in danger of being washed away by what is being called the worst storm, or at least tied for the worst storm to hit New Orleans, I'm hoping your insurance is all paid up and you got that good hurricane insurance down there.
Well, yeah, my insurance is just fine. The thing that makes this the make or break is what happened in Katrina. If the levees break, we're all screwed. If the levees break, 14 feet of water where I'm sitting right now. And
Really?
yeah, my house is just it'll do what they did after Katrina. 'Cause my house was built in the 1950s, right after they drained the swamp and started building houses here. And it's a brick house, and it's on a concrete slab. And that's not assumed around here. So they just reframed up the inside, put a new roof on it, and I got a good deal on it after Katrina.
So go ahead, continue. I'm going to let you roll. I want to hear this.
Yeah, so that's the thing we're really worried about is the water, the wind, whatever. If it blows off your roof, you're going to call Allstate. You'll get another one as soon as the roofing guys come around. You know, and look, that's bad. But the thing that's catastrophic is the water. The water is what we're really worried about. Anything that's inside the little levee barrier system, the water has to be pumped out, and it can only pump out a half inch an hour. So if the water's coming down faster than that, you know, you're just slowly watching it rise, and it's not like a Chinese torture device, but it's sort of like a top seed amateur torture device.
So right now you are at your in-laws. That's got to be fun. And
they're less than half a mile away. So I'm in my own neighborhood. I'm down the street from my house.
Oh my God. You live down the street from your in-laws?
I do. Haven't I told you this before?
No.
I have a really hot mother-in-law, and we get along really good. Like, we float a lot and stuff. So I don't have the normal in-law situation. Yeah, I know it's kind of perverted, but it is what it is. She looks just like my wife if my wife was blonde and 20 years older.
Oh.
So it's kind of like this magnetic attraction I have to my wife. I kind of half have it for my mother-in-law.
All right. That's odd.
She half has it for me, and we just kind of have fun with it. And I like being a ripper.
All right. And it's not so weird. There's an entire category for that on Pornhub. It is quite common as I peruse the selections there. All right. So you have a good relationship. That's good. Now, from where you are right now, looking out the window, now you told me on the phone earlier that there's really no reason to do roaming video, because we were thinking that maybe you'd be able to show us some images from where you are, because all the power lights are out. Now we're hearing reports that 100% of power in New Orleans proper is out. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, and so the entirety of the grid is wiped out. We are wholly dependent on one energy company, and they have limited power lines going in and out. It's not physically an island that New Orleans is on, but functionally speaking, we're on an island. If you're 100% surrounded by either swamps or an actual body of water, that's an island. So there's only like 7 real power lines coming in and out of this. There's only 7 streets that get you in and out of New Orleans. And I know that sounds like ridiculously small, but that's what it is. We're for all purposes, we're on an island about 30 miles from the nearest solid land.
Yeah, no. So this afternoon, while watching all the coverage of Hurricane, what is this one? This is
Ida.
Ida, that's right. Okay. So this is Hurricane Ida. We were watching coverage of it, me and my son. And, at 12 years old, he hasn't traveled the world quite the way most people older might have. And he doesn't know. He knows New Orleans is a place, but he didn't know anything about it. So I was trying to explain what New Orleans was to him and why it's always in such peril when these storms come in. And what I said was, how there are roads and then there are big potholes in the road? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, imagine the road is all the water and the pothole has a city in it. Now, is that at all accurate to a way to explain it to a 12-year-old? And I said they have to build a little wall around the top of the pothole so that, it doesn't get flooded when it rains. And he just said, why did they build there? Which, is a great really question.
I love that metaphor. That's pretty accurate. And the answer for it is really dumb too. When they built New Orleans originally in like 1706 or whatever, there's a bend in the Mississippi River in the middle of this swamp where they had deposited enough sediment that there was a little high ground and you could build a city. And then as the city expanded, well, you necessarily have to expand into the swamp. And so you're just going downhill and building levees around it.
There's that American real estate greed we love so much.
Well, it's basically subsidized by the government, because no one would insure my house for what I'm paying for it. If you wanted to get the market cost of what it takes to insure all the houses in the neighborhood I'm in, you would multiply it by 5.
Well, so
New Orleans would not expand, and so the National Flood Insurance Program, you're paying for more of my insurance than I am. All you taxpayers out there as well, thank you, by the way. So if my crap does get blown over, y'all are going to pay for more of it than I am. So
well, look, the rest of us all got together and we thought, okay, that's worth it because New Orleans is a fun place to go for Jazz Fest. So, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And
so we're going to drain some more swamp and build some more perilous houses and give y'all a bigger bill. The incentive conversation is all well and good, but right now I got a house that's 12 feet under sea level and 14 feet under sea level, and I'm just watching the water slowly rise, just wishing the rain would die down for like an hour or two to let the pumps catch up. So this is the sort of game we play.
So tell me about the kids. How are the kids handling this? Is this a weird thing? They're old pros, right? Although this is a bigger one than normal. You didn't have one during Katrina, correct?
No. I was a single bachelor. I hadn't even met my wife yet.
Okay.
And they've ridden out a few hurricanes, but like the big one we rode out last year, we didn't even lose power. There were a lot of people around us that lost power. And if we did lose power, we were going to come over to the in-laws' house, but it never even got that bad. The streets kind of flooded up, and the water creeps up past the sidewalk, halfway up your front yard. Then when it starts to get to your porch, you get nervous, and then it started receding. So it worked out great, and that's what usually happens.
Now,
this one's a little worse.
When we were talking just a day or so ago, and because James was supposed to be on this show with me in a bit of a co-host role. We were going to roll him in here and he was going to be in a split screen on there. But obviously things change. Mother Nature apparently doesn't want the coupling of Pugs and Parker, but maybe some of you will enjoy it in the future because we will get to that. James and I have done a number of radio shows, talk shows together. So we know that it's not going to be bad. It'll be fun. We'll have a good time. So we look forward to having you on in a Full Metal Parker sort of role with the split screen and all that. Now, can you answer a couple of questions? I've been watching all day long and I've seen things. Now, do you have internet access? Are you seeing what's being shared on Twitter and the socials?
Yeah. Actually, with the generator, you can hook up your Wi-Fi router and your modem, and as long as the internet line's hold out, we're fine. And I don't understand how that works. If Entergy's out, then I guess the internet companies have a backup generator that they're running. Entergy's our power company, but for now it's still working, which is good because that's how we're watching a lot of our TV is streaming it. Even the local channels, we stream them on Pluto.
Now, when we were talking, so let me ask you a couple of these questions. And oh my goodness, there have been just some, I don't want to, what's the word? Stunning pieces of video. I mean, we've seen roofs being blown off. We've seen trees being uprooted. I've seen major barges in the Mississippi River springing free of their hold and just careening into one another. And, I guess that's a whole nother worry. We get one of these oil tankers to rupture in the river or somewhere just off the Gulf, or, some of these rigs going down. So, those are going to be the sort of things that we're going to have to take measure of when the dust settles here. But there's a report going around right now on Twitter. A bunch of people are saying, at first it was just one guy, but then, suddenly you start seeing a whole bunch of other people. There is no video of it, but what's being reported is that the entire power grid, power station or power plant or whatever it is for the city of New Orleans is now in the Mississippi River. It is completely toppled over and it's in the river. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah, I've heard that. Can't confirm it. First person I heard it from was my brother-in-law. He's not the most reliable of sources, but so many people are saying it.
Wait a second. Let's get into that. Why is your brother-in-law not because you want to bang his mom? Is that why? Is that a problem? It sounds like it could be.
That probably doesn't help. But no, he's the guy that doesn't pay attention to the news, but he does pay attention to Facebook and Twitter. So that's his news sources. And the follow-up is not as strong as you would like for a journalistic source to be.
Yes,
but
it is Facebook.
That doesn't mean he's wrong. What it does mean is kind of the telephone game where the one big power tower that runs the whole city has fallen into the Mississippi. It could just be like a tree fell into the transformer and part of it fell into the Mississippi. There's probably a kernel of truth there, But the discussion isn't so much that, oh wow, so the power's out. The discussion immediately goes to, okay, well, how long will it take for them to fix it?
Well, yes, and that's sort of what I was leading up to. Now, if that is true, if there is going to be this, uh, if there has been a complete and full collapse of the power system, which provides all of the people of New Orleans and the surrounding areas with, I mean, their lifeblood, what does that mean? What do you expect? I mean, it sounds to me like it could be months. I mean, are we going to? Again, this is all speculation because the sun's got to come up, right, and the storm's got to pass. I mean, but what are you expecting? I know you don't know much, but what is it? What is your worst case scenario that you are going to be facing here in the next couple of days? Tell me about it. You've been through these before.
Well, worst case scenario is a levee breaking. You know, you talked about those barges coming loose and bouncing around in the Mississippi. That's not what scares us, but if someone does it at like Pontchartrain or one of these little canals that has the levee, like a concrete levee that can be broken,
Mm-hmm.
Then we're just screwed. Then it's Katrina all over again. And then, yeah, it would take months to turn all the scrap back on.
So
I
what do you do? What do you do in that situation? Are we going to have another mass exodus from one of America's great cities?
Oh yeah. And look, one of the consensus is because I moved here right after Katrina, like less than a year after Katrina is when I moved here. And even today, if you talk to the people that rode out Katrina, there's a big chunk of them that say, if that happens again, if the levees break and this whole city floods again, I'm not coming back. I'm not doing this again. I think a lot of them regretted coming back because they're like, I'm just coming back because it's all I know. I'm just coming back because this is my town. Why am I really doing this? Why am I putting myself in this situation for this to happen to me and my family again? So if that happens again, this city's done. The city will go down just something piddly like a Toledo where it's not even relevant and you barely remember its name.
Wow. I mean, honestly, on the global stage, because, America's got a lot of great cities, but we don't have very many global cities. And New Orleans is a global city. It's a global destination. We've got Miami, we've got New York, we've got Los Angeles, we've got Las Vegas to some extent. But wow. I mean, I make fun of New Orleans, but New Orleans is, it means something to what this country is all about. It's certainly an important city, if not one of the, it's not one of the largest metropolitan areas, but it's a big metropolitan area, and it means a lot to the soul of this country. Do you know what I mean when I'm getting, or am I being a little bit too fruity?
No, you're not being too fruity. Look, it's made some big cultural contributions.
Absolutely.
It has its own. Like these people have their own accent that you wouldn't recognize if you've never heard it before.
Well, we've been hearing it all day, and you know what I'm telling you? It's a mixture of Alabama and Brooklyn. I've never heard anything like it before.
Right? Yeah, the Brooklyn part's for real. That's because of all the Italian immigrants. That's where that sort of Brooklyn, that sort of Tony Soprano.
Yeah,
hey,
very much so. And I'm always thrown when I hear it. Okay, so one of the parish presidents was on TV, and that's what you call your counties there, right? Parishes.
I know they really overshoot that, don't they? Parish president, right?
Yeah, what is that, like a county commissioner or something, right?
Or you could just be the guy that takes the offering at church, like.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, I come from the south side of Chicago, very Catholic, so we have parishes, but it's not the same.
Right.
I understand that you're a very Catholic city, and the parish term probably comes from the same origin point, but you apply it differently. You apply it as like towns.
It's a county.
Like a county. So one of the parish presidents was on TV, and it was almost like he was expecting the worst, and he was already in ass covering mode. He stated that there had been $1 billion worth of renovations, restructuring, whatever you want to call it, reconstruction of the levees, the levee system. And he then basically washed his hands of all of that, suggesting that there was probably a lot of corruption and maybe it all didn't get done.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes me just sick about this place is how much they tolerate corruption and how much people get caught doing stuff, and then afterwards they'll just turn around and get reelected, or if they don't get reelected, their husband will get elected, or some family member will. And there's a lot of political dynasties around here, and everyone just seems to be cool with it.
Yeah, because that's your guy. Your guy is awesome. Your guy you met at the pancake breakfast. It's everybody else's guy. That's the one who are causing the problems. But we'll move on from that. Don't want to get into that stuff.
Well, look, the one thing that, because I never experienced a hurricane until I was like 30, until I moved here. The one thing you don't get is when all the power goes out and all the roads are flooded and you go outside at night, just how dark a major metropolitan area can be. When the first time I drove through New Orleans East, they still didn't have the power back on, and I drove through it at night. There was a whole part of the city I didn't even know existed, and I had driven through it because I couldn't see it from the interstate. They didn't even have the lights on the interstate when I first got back. But now that all the power's out, the energy tower collapses or whatever the rumor is, there's no street lights. There's no lights on people's houses. There's lights here where we have generators. So you have these little oases of other people who have generators. But it hadn't been since you've gone out into the woods camping that you've been in public or outside and it's this dark, and you're in a major city, and that's just one of the trippiest things about the whole experience is how dark it is at night.
We're talking to James Parker. He is reporting live from the eye of the storm. Hurricane Ida is just kicking the snot out of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast in general. A couple of days ago, when we were talking about the impending storm, now I should also preface this by saying that James and I are two very different people in a number of, we're very similar in other ways, but we're very different in the regard that he's pretty measured. He doesn't succumb to hype. He's got a bit of cynicism when it comes to hype. His filter is a bit stronger than mine. Whereas I'm what? It's gonna be Armageddon. Whoa, and we were talking the other day, and you were very blasé about it. You were very New Orleans about it, and you said I said, so is it going to be bad? And you were like, we'll see. And then you went into this story, and I found it very interesting about how there are certain weather people in New Orleans who are essentially like local rock stars, and that you only take information from certain people because you like the music. Is that, do I have that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of. That's how it used to be here, and the rock stars have all just about retired. And there's nobody left in this town that looks at a hurricane and will tell you anything other than this is going to be horrible. Everyone needs to evacuate, take all precautions. This is the mother of all storms. We're all going to die. Now it's just sensational to the max. So more than half of the weather people here are just young people that are under the age of 40, that this is their Super Bowl and they get to be on TV and everyone's paying attention to them. The scarier they can make it, the better.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's the business of that's fright journalism, right? I mean, keep you tuned in.
It doesn't have to be that way, though. When I moved here, there were still two guys that were in the market that would tell you, it's like, hey, everyone else is hyping this up. I'm telling you, there's a wind shear that's going to come off it's just sloping off the Rockies. It's going to meet up with this system right as it hits us. It's going to knock the top off of this. It'll immediately go down to a tropical storm. We're going to get about 6 inches of rain, and it'll peter out as soon as it hits land. There were people who used to poo-poo the sensational guys, and so you could flip through the channels and get different perspectives. There would be this guy that's telling you it's going to be the worst storm ever. There'd be this guy that's telling you it's going to be in between. This other guy's telling you it's going to be a walk in the park, and that's gone. It's all ubiquitous sensational. But after 10 years of every hurricane being the worst hurricane ever, and after 10 years of none of them being the worst hurricane ever, it's not that you don't believe them, it's that you just don't know. That's what they're going to say on every hurricane. And every hurricane that I've experienced, I've been told this is going to be the worst. None of them have flooded my house. None of them have caused the power to be out for more than a day or two. None of them have breached the levees. None of them have caused widespread flooding or ruined my life. So I can't trust these guys anymore. Nobody can. And so you can turn on the TV and find out what the wind speed is and where it's at and what the radar is. But you can't trust what those guys are saying because they've lied to us too many times.
Do you know who this Reed Timmer guy is?
I don't know Reed Timmer.
I didn't know about him until today, but he's got millions of followers, and the way people talk about him on the threads, I guess he's been doing this for a while. He is what does he call himself? Action storm chaser or something, but he's trucking around in his car. Have you seen the video of the complete and total one-piece roof flying off a building and then tumbling into a lot down the block? Have you seen this?
Yeah.
That's
I
his.
saw one in Morgan City. Oh wow, he did that.
Well, there was a big one in New Orleans, yeah, and he just happened to turn. He broadcast live as he's driving around, and he just turned a corner at the right minute, and boy, he got the money shot. He got this full roof from what looked like a warehouse. I mean, there are a lot of images of roofs being torn off. There's the hospital that I think is in Grand Isle that was going around, where you see it come off in a million different pieces, and it's like shingles and chunks are flying everywhere. No, this was an entire. It was like the entire building was just 5 pieces, 4 walls and a gigantic roof. And the roof came off in one complete piece as he turned in front, and it, went all over. It must have traveled probably half a block, and then it crashed, thankfully, in an empty lot, taking down a bunch of power lines and, trees and stuff like that. But yeah, this guy is pretty great. I mean, I don't know if he's a sensationalist or what, but right now, today, what he was doing was pretty great. He rolls around and he's wearing a bike helmet, like a bike racing helmet, which I guess you'd have to. But yeah, he's follow Reed Timmer. I don't know where you can find. Well, just I guess Reed Timmer. Just do a Google search. He's got some amazing stuff out there now. So when we were talking on Saturday, you were, lamenting that nobody's giving the straight dope. Everybody's hyping everything these days. The great rock stars of days past in New Orleans who would give it to you the way it really was, or at least offer some sort of counterbalance to all the doom and apocalyptic hype. You were pretty even measured, and you said, "We'll see." I'm like, "So how bad is it? We'll see." You didn't seem that worried. Tell me about it now. I mean, is this the worst hurricane you've been through? Would someone who was poo-pooing this on Friday, would he have been right? Or would he have been, horribly wrong?
Look, see, now I'm about to sound like a jerk because it all depends on, did my house flood?
And that's the me publican in you. That is the me publican in James Parker.
Yeah, very me publican. If my house flooded, this is the worst hurricane I've ever been a part of. This is the worst storm I've ever been a part of. As of now, it's not, but my house could be flooding right now, and I just can't make it 6 blocks over to my house right now because the roads are not drivable because the streets aren't draining fast enough.
Well, let's try and distance yourself from your narcissistic instincts.
Yeah, so the worst that has happened in New Orleans, period, is Gustav and Isaac. Without a doubt, those were the 2 worst. Now, Gustav was pretty.
Now, hold on, wait a second. You mean since you've been there? Because isn't Katrina the worst?
Oh yeah, Katrina and Rita are easily the worst. They happened consecutively.
But you didn't actually live through those in New Orleans proper at the time. You arrived there right after Katrina. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Right. So Gustav and Isaac were the ones that caused the most amount of grief to the most people. And Gustav was the first big one that happened after Katrina. And when they reinforced the levee walls and actually finished the whole levee system, we learned from the new water tables, okay, now who does this affect? And there were the people that were right outside the levee system just got absolutely blown away. But I'm from inland, the middle of the continent, and I had never seen a for real storm surge before. And I don't know if you've never been on a major body of water like an ocean, but a storm surge just means the storm is pushing down on a body of water. And so there is this wall of about 10 feet of water that just comes on shore. And it's weird because
and then you got the idiots grabbing their surfboards, right? And anybody out there trying to surf? Have you seen any of that?
No, not a lot of surfing, but I have a neighbor who whips out his kayak every time the streets flood. And it was so funny the first 3 times, but then it's like, yeah, there's that douchebag with the kayak.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
All right.
And now Isaac was probably the one that caused the most damage. It happened, I guess that was like 2013, 2014. And what we learned from that is, New Orleans can be okay because they have the big levee system. And even if it floods a little bit, it'll eventually get pumped out. But there's little towns around here that get ate up by the storm surge, because the storm surge can push the Mississippi over its banks. It can push the Pontchartrain over its banks. It can push the Gulf of Mexico over its banks. So any big body of water, it just gets pushed out. It gets pushed out of the little hole it's in. And it's like if you had your pothole metaphor.
Okay.
What if you went up to the pothole and you took like the blower that you use after you do the lawn mowing and weed eating? You know, you have a lawn blower.
Mhm.
What if you just put that over the pothole and blew straight down? It would push the water out of the pothole and screw up everything around it.
Okay.
That's what it does, like to Lake Pontchartrain in the Gulf of Mexico, but on a much larger scale. And we learned that a lot of little towns just absolutely are going to eat it if that happens again. And so they're absolutely eating it right now. And so that kind of makes me sick. There's little towns like Laplace, they're on the Mississippi River and kind of close to Lake Pontchartrain as well. And they're just getting double hit.
So how are you keeping up with, I mean, other than just looking out your window, where are you in the approach, or where are you in the storm? Because I don't really understand hurricanes, but I do understand that there is a rotation and there is a good side to be on and a bad side to be on. I mean, where are you in the storm? How much longer do you expect to see these high winds and potential deadly damage?
We are on the bad side of the hurricane. Hurricanes go counterclockwise.
That's the right side, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the storm eye is probably about 40 miles west, sort of northwest of me by now. It's going up the west coast of Lake Pontchartrain, and we're expected to get hurricane force winds until about 11 o'clock tonight, which is not too far from now, is it? Yeah,
10 minutes.
Yeah, and
12
so
minutes.
we're still expected to get heavy rain, heavy winds, at least tropical storm force winds until about 7 in the morning.
Now, I'm also seeing something that they say that what is potentially truly tragic about this Hurricane Ida is that she has stalled. Now, that to me, if somebody told me the storm has stalled, that sounds like good news, but that is absolutely not good news. Tell me why.
Because the accumulation of precipitation is our biggest threat, especially in New Orleans. And so if it stays, especially this close to the coast, when it rotates around and the storm system gets over that warm water in the Gulf, it picks up more water and has more water to dump. The more it goes inland, the less water it has to pick up. And so the rain sort of starts to phase out.
Now, I heard something interesting just before I signed on here. There was somebody reporting another one of these parish presidents. They get a lot of airtime during these. They get who was the guy? None better or something? Billy
None guesser.
None guesser. Yeah. So what do you think, Billy? I got none guesses. Now he's a staple, right? We've probably seen him before. He's been around forever.
Well, this is what catapulted him to fame. Is he was the parish president of Plaquemines, which, if you look at Louisiana, that little toe where the Mississippi River comes out into the Gulf of Mexico, that's Plaquemines Parish. It's south of New Orleans. And so if anyone's getting hit with the hurricane, it's going to be them, and they're going to get it first, and they're going to get it the worst. So during Gustav and Isaac, he was on all the stations all the time. And so now he's our lieutenant governor. He parlayed that fame.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, into a lieutenant governorship. And so lieutenant governor, I don't know what they do in other states, but in New Orleans, they don't have any job to do. They just run around the state promoting themselves for 4 years and setting up to be governor.
It's kind of what I do. I'm the lieutenant governor of Highland Park. Look at me. I like that. That's all right. I'm gonna get the business cards printed up. But what he said was that I thought was interesting was this was where he was reporting from, or actually, I guess being the lieutenant governor, he probably wasn't just speaking solely about Plaquemines Parish. He was probably talking about something else. But he said they had never in the history of New Orleans, or at least in the history of being able to track and measure these weather occurrences, there had never been a Category 2. And by the way, this made landfall as a Category 4, and then it fluctuated between 4 and 5. But it seems to be like when this all settles, they're going to call it a 4. He said that it had down to her Category 2, but they had never seen a Category 2 as far inland as the place that he was speaking of, because typically, as it breaks up, the more, you know what I mean? It gets over land, there's no more water, so it breaks up a little. But he said that this thing is shocking the meteorologists and all the people that he is dealing with, FEMA or whoever. It's shocking because they have never measured a category 2 that far inland. Now, what have you been hit by? I mean, is there even a way for you to articulate that? Do you know? I mean, the worst when it came through, and maybe it's not done. What are we talking about here? Is this?
Yeah, and look, that's an interesting stat for the back of a baseball card. But we've been hit with Category 2 storms, Category 3, Category 4, Category 5 here before. The hinge on that statistic is where the eye wall is. You know, the eye of the hurricane.
Yeah.
So it's still a Category 2, even though the eye is this far in. And so, yeah, that makes it worse than other storms in the fact that you hope the rain dies down so the pumps can catch up in New Orleans, or you hope the rain dies down so your house doesn't flood if you're outside the levee system. But it's not like this is something we've never seen before. It's just sort of an anomaly that they've been able to measure some wind gusts that put it above category whatever that far inland. That doesn't get me too excited. That doesn't move the needle a whole lot. It's fits right in with the sort of, they want to say, the most sensational, eye-catching. Look, all of this is about right now is the news trying to scare you into not watching Netflix.
Okay, give me that theory because you shared that with me. So tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean by that?
Well, look, and part of this is because I had a parlay into TV news for a few years there. I was the regular fill-in on the ABC affiliate. You know, that was such a huge celebrity for my radio stuff here. You know,
they can't get enough of that big square Frankenstein head you got.
Yeah, the Mark Cuban's ugly little brother guy. But it's easily noticeable when you're doing a TV show that, man, y'all are really hyping this up. And when you go to the meetings, the concern is, listen, our news product does really well in the morning. In fact, it does okay for our noon broadcast too, but the numbers just slip off, and it's not just the affiliate I was on, it was all of them. So what is news, Pugs, to you? The evening news at 10 o'clock, what is it? It's just moderately attractive people telling you all the stories you read online about 7 hours ago, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Morning's different. In the morning, you get up, you turn on the news. So while you're running around getting your stuff together, whether you have kids you got to get ready for school or you're just taking care of yourself, you get caught up on the day. And it's something that can be going on in the background, so you don't have to be actively checking Twitter to figure out what's going on or actively checking your websites to see what's going on. It's sort of a half passive part of your morning routine that has dropped off of many people's evening routine. You don't need the news before you go to bed. You need the news before you start the day.
Yeah. Well, except unless you're like me, where you wake up about 10 minutes before you need to be somewhere, and then you just let your morning zoo tell you what's happening in the world.
Yeah, well, so
I need my late night news, but okay, I understand most people may be different.
So the big competition isn't necessarily the fact that even your audience has all read the news that you're about to present to them 7 hours ago. It's that they've all read those stories 7 hours ago, and they have Netflix, and they're in the middle of The Last Kingdom or Versailles or Peaky Blinders or whatever, and they're just that's what the TV viewing routine has turned into. You do your productive stuff, you watch the news and industrious stuff during the day, and then at night it's sort of party time. It's leisure time. This is where TV is where you treat yourself, and so you're watching, I don't know, Handmaid's Tale or whatever show you're in the middle of a binge.
I don't watch that. Ted Lasso. That's what I'm pushing endlessly. Ted Lasso.
You're not the first person telling me that, and I will check it out.
Oh my
Too
God.
many people are saying good things about that. Too many.
Well, and I hope you trust my TV criticism, because I've been sharing it with you for about 20 years now.
Stellar.
Well, thank you. Look, I'm sharing right now on the screen an image from Houma, Louisiana. And it is
it's pronounced Houma.
Houma, Louisiana. Yeah. Okay, well, that's wrong, but okay.
The Houma Indians disagree.
Well, okay. Well, since when are we going to start listening to them? I mean, come on.
Good point.
It says here, Mike Theis, or Tice, however he wants. I don't know how big a role the H plays.
I'm out
of
corrections. Name. It's fine.
Wind gusts are picking up in Houma, Louisiana. The eye wall is coming soon. Now, this was posted a while ago because it's still light out. But James, I am looking at a street completely abandoned, lined with trees. These trees are really testing the bend don't break philosophy. I mean, the wind looks to be going 200 miles an hour every once in a while. Folks, if you're in the chat room, you can see it right there. Every once in a while, there is an object that just flies past the screen that looks like something that could easily kill anyone. How far are you from this place? Because you sound extremely calm, and I am looking at something right now that would not have me be calm. I mean, I would be freaking out. How far are you from Homa? And not to claim that that's the worst of it, but we are looking at something really terrible, and you do not seem all that concerned. I mean, you seem very calm for someone who might be near what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, look, it's really cool to see on TV, and this is something dumb that guys do that girls don't. But guys if you've never been in it before, you have to go out in 100-mile-an-hour winds if they're there. So I did that. I did that when I first got here, and there was 100-mile-an-hour winds. I'm like, I have to go out in the middle of the street and stand in the middle of this. I have to. And so you do that. In fact, you do it for probably your first 3 or 4 hurricanes. And so the excitement kind of dies down. Yeah, we had hurricane winds like that for about 7 hours today that were above 100 miles an hour. We had gusts to 140 supposedly that were measured in New Orleans. I don't think it got that fast. That's a little ridiculous. But I'm solid that I witnessed with my own eyes 100-mile-an-hour winds today. And just because I've done it so many times, I didn't really feel like doing it today, And when I see it on TV, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty bad. But do they still have power? That's what you're worried
That's
about.
all you care about, the air conditioning, because that place is humid, man. That is an armpit down there.
Yeah, and look, the weather's nice. It's like 75 degrees now, but tomorrow morning when it gets to 90 degrees, air conditioning will be the most important thing in the world, and plus all the food rotting in your refrigerator. Those are the 2 things you care about with electricity.
We're speaking with James Parker, who is hunkered down there at his hot mother-in-law's house in New Orleans. Incredibly hot. And we're now looking on the screen at, I'll tell you, this is from Weather Nation. It says the powerful winds and flooding from Hurricane Ida are very evident in this footage from La Place. Yeah, okay, again, that's place. It's not. Okay, we're not. Serenity now. Okay.
No, your frustration is legit.
Okay.
It's cool.
So, where is La Place? Because La Place is completely underwater. Again,
yeah. So Laplace, you know how I said New Orleans is on a de facto island,
right?
So if you go out of here to the north, you have to cross Lake Pontchartrain. If you go out of here to the northeast, you have to cross Lake Pontchartrain. If you go out of here to the south, you have to cross the Mississippi River, and there's only 3 bridges across of it. Laplace is the one that is to the west of us. You have to go over a long swamp that they can't build anything on, because when the Mississippi River overflows, it goes through this big ditch to Lake Pontchartrain. So it's called the Bonnie Carey Spillway. You have to go across about 10 miles of just bridge over swamp. And the first town when you get to actual land that's not swamp is Laplace. And Laplace is outside of the levee system, and it's not really big enough to have the federal government say, okay, we're going to spend $6 billion to build a earth and levee system around this town of 20,000 people. And they actually used to do okay, but something about the way they rerouted the water table after Katrina, they've gotten hit hard in Gustav, they've gotten hit hard in Isaac, and what they're seeing now is totally expected to those of us who are watching. But it still makes your stomach sick, because I'm over here, I'm worried about my house 6 blocks away, and if I get 2 more inches of rain, I'm probably going to have to gut my house and redo all the drywall and the flooring. But that's what 20,000 people are going through right now, and you feel so bad for them. You just
going to be a lot of contracting work available down in the New Orleans area.
Oh yeah, look, if you can float some drywall, get your ass down here. You'll make some money.
I am now sharing video there on the share page. Where exactly is this? Sound of Fury. This is from ABC News. Powerful winds and sheets of rain brought by Hurricane Ida lash a dock, and you're gonna have to help me with this. Port
Fourchon.
What is it?
Just Fourchon.
No, where's the R?
You don't say the R. You don't say it.
Why not? What do the R ever do?
They're French, okay? They're fruity. They can't say anything right. Port Fourchon.
Okay, here. Well, let's give this a listen, because there's an opportunity here to hear this. All right, just sit tight. Let's give this a listen. This is what the winds. Is this a police station? This is somewhere in here. We'll make sure we know exactly where it is. Let me help you out here. Let's listen to this. Well, I'll let it play. Yeah. I mean, come on. Did you? I mean, that is the sound of the devil saddling up. That is the coming of end times. It is. We're watching security camera footage of, I don't know. Here's what, if I didn't know what was going on, I would say, oh yeah, they put a security camera underneath the dock on the ocean, and that's just the water underneath the dock. But no, apparently this is a street. This is a building proper. This is some sort of, wow. I mean, that's all I can say.
Okay, so Port Fourchon is almost on the Gulf of Mexico. It's so hard to say it's on the Gulf of Mexico because there's not a clear, definitive like beach where it's like, hey, you're on the Gulf of Mexico.
So it's going to be the worst there, right?
It is the worst because it's just this swamp that just sort of slides slowly into the ocean. So you don't really know where the boundary of the ocean is so much. So Port Fourchon, Golden Meadow, Grand Isle, these are all places where everything, for the most part, is built on stilts. Even the highways, the freeways, they're all built on stilts.
Here we are. Sorry, go ahead.
It must be incredibly expensive to have built all these highways for these little dinky towns that feel like they're out in the middle of nowhere, but I guess they serve some sort of important industrial purpose. But man, they get it every time, even if there's not a levee breaching or there's not a category 4, just the storm surge alone pushes 10 feet of water in all these places. So Grand Isle, Port Fourchon, Golden Meadow, they're going to get 10 feet of water anytime there's any kind of storm, no matter what.
All right, let me share something with you now. This is Mike Tice or Thice, depending on whether or not you pronounce the H. He's another guy wearing a bicycle helmet. I'm sharing it right now on the screen. If you're watching us at Pugs and Company on Facebook or Pugs and Company on YouTube, or if you're following along on Twitter, Pugs and Co. Let's give this guy a listen. He is, I know you can't see, so he seems to be standing in the middle of it for performance purposes, I suppose. I mean, really, can't you do all of these reports? That's the other thing that bothers me about these storms. They are sending their reporters out to these storms standing. We've all seen it. You know, the guy, as a matter of fact, there's a debunking video that calls out someone for pretending to be walking against hard wind, but it's, you know, and then the camera pulls back and you actually see that it's not what he's doing. This is not that. So let's give it a listen here. This is Mike Tice reporting from a few hours ago. It is still daytime here. He's got the bicycle on. And as I say, I imagine for strictly performance purposes, he has put himself in the middle of this and at some great personal peril. Let's listen to what he says.
Hurricane Ida in Louisiana. The outlaws about to make landfall right here in the city, using this building as a barrier. The whole building is shaking right now. Oh my God, this is getting stronger. It's at least 90 miles an hour, maybe more. Hurricane Ida's making landfall right now in Louisiana. Here we are in Hurricane.
All right, so he goes on like that. I mean, it seems to me that he could have just as easily done that from the safe confines of a elevated brick building, right? But, you know, because you need the clicks and we got to see that, right? I mean, that's all this is. This is all.
Well, yeah, it's a clown show. We laugh at those people, especially the Weather Channel people who come here because they just have a team of people that they have stand in horrible weather conditions. And man, they are just hamming it up. These are the theater kids of the meteorological world. You can't take
the drama club has entered the building.
They are. It's like, must you live your entire life as a melodrama, right? You're right. You could have easily done that from that raised brick building. You could at least, like, you know, had your cameraman be indoors and take a shot out the window. You don't have to be in the middle of it.
Of course, so there are plenty of security cams and webcams or whatever the hell you want to call it, covering just about every inch of our life. whether we're indoors or outside.
Well, look, and just that clip you played, how incredible is the microphones these days that they can pick him
Right.
up so well, but not get all the auxiliary noise that happens in a hurricane around him. There's not a whole lot of wind shear, like rattling the diaphragm of the mic. I mean, the mic technology is incredible on these guys. I'm so jealous.
Your tech nerdiness is showing with your appreciation for the modern state of the microphone. It's
Yeah, but listen,
yeah.
you've been on your phone standing in like a 10-mile-an-hour wind, and the person you're talking to can't understand you because it sounds like a Category 4 hurricane, you know, the whole time.
Well, here,
So,
let me share this. This is again from Weather Nation. Now, this is New Orleans, Louisiana. This was how many hours ago now? So this was at 7:37 p.m. So, you know, about 4 hours. It's still light out. We're looking at downtown Orleans. Let's give this a listen. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah. Weather Nation says if you listen closely, you can hear the winds of Hurricane Ida howling through New Orleans on Sunday. This is really more of a video because we don't need to listen closely. We've got other videos that all, you know, perfectly amplified. But let's see what this is about. Yeah, you can hear the sirens there. Oh, this is a camera. This is where that big giant downtown abandoned building is by the casino and Hilton or Westin or whatever it is down there.
yeah.
All right, the Ola, we're seeing cars, but they seem to be cars in an official capacity. One is a police car, another one is a incredibly bland white SUV, which suggests it was purchased by a government entity. Because nobody would buy that lame of an SUV. Yeah, man, look, this looks Outlet Collection Riverwalk, if you know where that is. That's what we're looking at here.
Yeah, that's right in the middle of what they call the Central Business District. The back end of that building is on the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River does not flood. The storm surge does not push it over. They've got that thing banked up so hard on both sides because this place has been flooded by the Mississippi River. Too many times before I got here. So that's never the issue. The issue is coming from anywhere else. It's either popping one of the levee walls, you know, one of these concrete walls that's keeping the sea level back, or Lake Pontchartrain, you know. And right now it's just, is the rain going to outrun the pumps? If I walk out down the front steps of my mother-in-law's house, in fact, I just had to move my truck to higher ground. The water is just about up to my knees. So that's what, if you just took Highland Park, just imagine if the water was up to your knees.
Oh,
So,
well.
Yeah. So what would that do? That would be flooding some houses. If your house isn't on like a little bit of an incline, you know.
Well, if it's Highland Park, it would present some marvelous looting opportunities for me. I don't know what it would do for the people who actually pay mortgages in this area, but you know, I could make that work.
Right. Get a couple TVs and buy at it, some jewelry. It's just weird how people outside of the market focus so much on the wind. And the wind is significant. It causes a lot of damage. It makes projectiles that go bust out your windows, bust up your car, whatever, knock down tree branches. Some tree branch fell on my truck today, left a dent. I was kind of pissed about that. But here on the ground, the number one thing we're concerned about is the water. Can we pump this crap out fast enough? We're also kind of really sick to our stomach because in 2017 there was a rainstorm that wasn't really that big of a deal, but it flooded the hell out of the city. And so the question became why, and they said, well, the power went out. And we're like, all the pumps are supposed to have a generator backup, and more than half of them didn't work. And so that was like the last year of Mitch Landrieu's mayorship or whatever. And so we've had a few storms since then, and it seems like they got that problem solved.
Isn't it Landro, or you just said Landry? Or am I pronouncing that wrong too?
No, Landrieu.
Yeah.
So Mitch Landrieu, his sister was Mary Landrieu, the senator from Louisiana for a while.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of a known name, but his little political dynasty started with his dad, Moon Landrieu, who was mayor of New Orleans in like the 80s or something. You know, it's kind of like the Daley system in Chicago or the Cuomo system in New York. So they're a political dynasty. So we think that after he got wildly embarrassed by the backup generators not working on the pumps, that maybe they might actually be fixed. But this is the way we find out. We have to find out the hard way. We have to have another big storm, and do they pump fast enough? And so now it's just a race between the rain and the pumps. And with energy out, now we're on the backup system. And so you kind of sort of, your hope spectrum sort of moves to the left from hopeful to less hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah. As these factors start to pile on.
Well, here, let me share another thing here. We're looking at, where's this, Grand Isle, Louisiana?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this place is, it's getting a good, thorough washing. I'll tell you, they are on a deep dirt spin cycle. Let's look at this. Let's listen to this. You can see it in the chat room. That's what we're showing you. Oh, my God. This just looks like absolute hell. I mean, you know what Grand Isle is. So we're looking at a bunch of houses on stilts.
All of them are on stilts. I've been to Grand Isle once, and that was to cover the BP oil spill in like 2010. And that was the first thing I noticed. It's like, really, is everything here on stilts? And yeah, it is on stilts, because every time there's a major storm, doesn't matter how much rain is dropped, the storm, it's like with the blower pushing on the ocean, it's going to push 10 feet over Grand Isle. Grand Isle is a man-made island to begin with. That beach that's on the south part of Grand Isle is a man-made beach. They trucked in all that sand. And it was, I don't know, I would believe it if you told me some governor like a Huey Long or something back in the day just built that so he could have a fishing camp on the Gulf of Mexico.
See, you are so cynical. I told people he is the most cynical person. Okay.
Because only government can be that dumb and that reckless with resources. It is just incredibly bad. That has to be a political decision. Because
when you're in charge,
we're going to make an island there.
When you're in charge of appointing bean counter, you could probably get away with some stuff. When you make your brother-in-law the county assessor or auditor or whatever.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm just surrounded by it here. This is the most corrupt place probably this side of Chicago.
Let me give you an idea. Look, I understand what Chicago once was and what the reputation during the Daley Dynasty and all that was. I don't think it's quite the same way, although there is a measure of corruption in almost any large municipal government these days. What I'm sharing right now, okay, the story that you told me, I was down visiting James. He was kind enough to host me there for a weekend. We did some fun radio stuff down there. And in addition to introducing me to his drug dealer pimp neighbor, who we hung out with, which was, hey man, I'm all for life experience. What was his name? Bo? I'll never forget that guy.
Beau.
Are you still friends with Bo, or is he doing time for something completely underrated or unrelated to the stuff we engaged in?
Oh, no, I keep up with Bo on social media just because he was such good friends with my oldest kid. When he was a baby, Bo wanted a baby, and his wife wasn't ready, and so it was kind of like a trial run. Bo would take the baby to his wife. Let's play with the baby. And so my kid loved him. My kid loved the pimp drug dealer.
Hey, where's James? Why did you come back in without the baby? Where is the baby? It's cool. He's with the pimp dealer next door. They're playing family.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if anyone was likely to just leave town with your kid, it would be that guy and his wife who desperately wants a baby.
Yes, the dancer wife. No, but the other thing about Bo is he had a ping pong table, and he was really serious about ping pong. And you know what? God damn it, I'm serious about ping pong. And so we used to have these epic 4-hour ping pong sessions that would last until 2 in the morning. And it's just so weird because neither one of us seemed like the type of guy that would be passionate about ping pong, but we both were, and we were so happy to find each other.
Hey man, look, Hitler loved bumper pool, little known fact. So, you got one, no matter what it is that you do to make your monthly allotments, you got to have a little downtime. You got to, so ping pong, the ping pong playing pimp living next door, watching my newborn. That sounds.
Yeah, thanks for comparing me to Hitler, but yeah.
No, not you. I was just using it as an example, as we are all very complicated and have numerous areas of interest that we engage in day to day. Some days it's genocide, some days it's ping pong. You just gotta have, you gotta be a well-balanced man.
Yeah, we got range.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you gotta be well-rounded. One of the things that you told me, getting back to the idea that New Orleans is such a corrupt place. So we went to the grocery store. We were going to barbecue out, right? So we needed to stock up on some food, some meat, some veggies, some whatever it was that we were going to make. And I walked by this giant, the produce section, and I grabbed a grape off of a little thing of grapes. I'm like, oh, let me see if these are good, because I won't buy a whole thing of grapes without tasting if they're sweet first, right? So I pull one off, and you scared the hell out of me. You told me that there was a con that goes on where they'll catch me on video doing that, and then they'll say that I'm stealing, and then they'll call the police, and there's a deal with the local cops where there's like money involved. I'll have to pay my way out of it. You scared the hell out of me about New Orleans. Were you just pulling my leg, or is that the level of corruption that you deal with on a day in and day out?
Oh man, dude, I was pulling your leg, but not by much. Like there is so many.
I bought it. Gullible me bought it.
Oh man, dude, they have things where people send out these little flyers, like these postcards in the mail that say, "Hey, the New Orleans public water system has had some issues. We need to come test your water as soon as possible. When's a good time?" And if you send the postcard back or call the number and give them a time to come test your water, these dudes will come in like these official looking work uniforms, test your water and be like, yeah, sorry about that, you're contaminated, you're going to need to buy this filtration system, and they'll hook something up. I don't even know if it's a filtration system to these people's sinks, charge them a few $100s and get the heck out of there. It's not corrupt, and it's almost like, dude, if you're that good at plumbing that you're installing some sort of filtration system and overcharging some scared old people for it, why don't you just actually be a legit plumber and like help people? It's just a weird mindset that the grift is an accepted industry, and it's just part of it.
So, these being Katrina was terrible. I mean, nobody's going to argue that point.
Oh, the worst natural disaster in American history, easy.
But it was, it was different times during Katrina. We were not as a nation so completely polarized. When the sun comes up tomorrow, I mean, I've already heard that the Cajun Navy is on the ground and they're ready to pitch in and do whatever it is and I don't mean to marginalize at all what they've done during times like this. We need citizens who care. We need citizens who want to go out there and do whatever and if you got a boat and there's a bunch of people on a route, you got to get those. You got to do whatever we do. That's what we do for each other. I mean, I'm wondering if we do end up losing power for an extended period of time and, everything is flooded and we have people trapped again for, maybe a day or two, God forbid. I mean, what is this? I mean, the lawlessness that went down with Katrina, I'm waiting for the first person who needs to be rescued who will refuse to get into a boat with someone not wearing a mask. That is, or reversing that, somebody demanding to know who on the roof voted for who before they can get into the boat. I mean, are there any real concerns? Because nobody is as informed as you on all things. You're a news junkie just like me, and you recognize that we are in extra special times. And I mean, because isn't that the fear is what comes next? What happens tomorrow night when the lights maybe they're still not on, but the power is out. I mean, is there any real concern where you are for massive displays of lawlessness?
No. That's minimal.
Well, but the reason I bring that up, and I'm not the kind of person that would typically hype that. But I mean, I watched with my son. I had to explain to my son today what Katrina was. So we watched a bunch of clips on YouTube, and he saw a lot of stuff. He saw the guys shooting people out the windows. He saw, military moving in. So, I mean, I thought, wow, how would that be different today? We are in different times. And I will believe, and I choose to believe that in times like this, all of that other stuff just falls by the wayside. But I don't know. I mean, I know that there's a terrible gang problem in New Orleans right now. I mean,
yeah, but that doesn't overlap with the people who were concerned about masks. And
no, that was a joke. I was just kidding. I was just saying.
Sure, I get it. So Think about it like this: the people that were really concerned about masks at the beginning of the pandemic weren't really concerned about masks when there were Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots or protests or whatever. You know, it's all relative. And look, people have the same.
Well, hold on, wait a second. Let me stop you there. I'm being a bit disingenuous. It's not the same people. It's not all the same people. I mean, I get what you're getting at, but like,
well, no, but look, the CDC and like the American Medical Association,
Sure.
who were telling the rest of us to wear masks, were putting out statements that no, they're not concerned about the Black Lives Matter protesters wearing masks. I don't mean the general public. I just mean the people, the spokesmen for the figureheads for all that crap.
No, it's just a silly avenue I went down. I'm not really trying to get into the mask stuff, but the greater point was that we are in different times, and violence is an everyday occurrence in New Orleans. And currently, when the police are at full strength. So I mean, if you're not worried, you know, maybe I shouldn't be. But you know, after watching all the Katrina stuff, I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? Is this the excuse for the coming war? Will the first shots of the next American Civil War occur on Bourbon Street? You know?
Well, yeah, that's definitely overselling it, but it's pretty obvious how people drop their guard when they're being rescued. It's like, you know what? Now's not a good time to do a card check on your political party.
Yeah, no, it's not. I personally, I don't think any time is a good time for that anymore.
Yeah. No, and I don't think it's as divided. I don't know, especially in this town. But
I got a good idea who them Cajun Navy guys voted for. I mean, I'm just taking a look at them. I know I'm stereotyping, but just looking at them.
Look, but they were going to do this anyway.
Right. You know, yes, of course they were. God bless them. Serious. And I'm poking a little bit of fun, but anybody who is willing to pitch in and help, you know, that's a godsend for people in need. So, you know, beggars can't be choosers is, I guess, my greater point.
Yeah, and absolutely, and it's almost like the Cajun Navy has shown itself to be not only not politically polarizing, but wanting to help as many people as possible because they kind of like getting the credit.
Yeah, good for them. Yeah, I mean, look, and they deserve the credit. You know, it's you cannot discount the actions of this group simply because you know you don't think because they're a bunch of white men from the South. Is that fair to? I mean, that's what I mean by it. I mean, they are stepping up when they're needed. So
it's like at least 99% white guys from the South. Yes.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do black guys even own boats? I mean, is that a black guy thing? I don't know.
Man, so where I'm from in the country,
here we go. Here we go. I'll let James down an alley. Here we go.
Yeah, let's go down the alley.
Sure.
So where I'm from in the country, like in the middle of nowhere, East Texas. Yeah, there's plenty of black guys that own boats. In fact, the difference between the races just really muddies when you get in the middle of nowhere. Hell, you see another human being, you're happy. You're like, oh, look, another human. This is great.
Yeah.
I'm going to go talk to him. And then this is a metropolitan area where it sort of blurs too, where I have black friends, and this was weird at first, but it's normal now, that like to go fishing. I'm like, you like to do what? They're like, yeah, I got a camp over in Mississippi, and man, I just go down there. If I take a 4-day weekend sometimes, and I spend 3 days fishing. Wow, I can't believe how horrible the stereotypes have been driven into my head that I can't imagine. The co-host on my TV show likes to get in a boat and go fishing.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean, you live down there on the Gulf, man. That's you know, probably different, you know, than life in Harlem or the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, there's probably fewer fishermen in Chicago that are of African American descent.
Actually, that's not true. Now that you bring that, now that I think about that, that is absolutely not true. There's
a lot of Harlem fishermen.
No, but in Chicago there certainly are, because the Lake Michigan stretches all the way through the south side, and there is we have smelt fishing season, which starts usually in the springtime. And yeah, I would say that is a very diverse crowd. Those are mostly old men, but yeah, I mean, black dudes do actually fish in Lake Michigan during smelt season. Now, I don't know if they're going out and, you know, doing the whole, what's that called, mud grubbing or whatever, where you stand and shove your hand in a hole in the swamp. Noodling. I don't know a black man that would do that.
There's a level of stupidity that only white people will tread.
Yeah,
like the whole X Games.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so just I don't want to keep you here, but conditions right now where you are, have they changed at all in the last hour since you've been on with us?
No, still raining, still windy. It's not raining super hard. Like you can tell when it comes down in sheets, like when the rain's coming sideways and you can see it all. But when you watch it come down the gutters, if it's blowing out,
Right.
it's huge. But it's not really blowing out, and the pumps are sort of keeping up. So the water level hasn't really risen, but it stayed steady, and that's still kind of bad news. I need this to go down. We're expecting a dry spot from about 11 o'clock to maybe midnight. There's just a hole in the radar that we're watching. And if it goes down a little bit, I can drive. Because I have a truck, I can drive 6 blocks to my house and see if I've lost everything, and then just come right back here because they got air conditioning. But the hardest part is just not knowing the condition of my house.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, we're all keeping a good thought for you on that front. No matter, we having a little fun here, just trying to alleviate the fear of what daylight will bring.
Oh, I'm so happy to do it. You know how boring it is? I have been in my mother-in-law's house since about 10 this morning.
Your hot mother-in-law, who you have very strange and confusing feelings for?
Yes, that's an accurate description.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you just kind of manage the kids. Does anyone need anything to eat? Does anyone need a snack or something to drink, or have a little bit of vodka to go with it?
Sure.
But it's not just boredom though. It's boredom with the anxiety that's just this sort of Damocles hanging over your head. Like my whole house could be getting ruined right now, and I wouldn't know the difference. I couldn't do anything to stop it, even if I did know. So let's just get back to what we were doing.
Well, how are you stocked up? Did you do? Because we are looking right now on the screen at Pugs and Company, both on Facebook, Pugs and Company, and YouTube, Pugs and Company. We're looking at a video of a store that is just empty. It is. Let's see, they got some Ruffles, got some regionally branded Ruffles. They're Ruffles with like some.
Those are Zaps.
No, these are not Zaps. These are Ruffles, but it looks like they've got a Jamaican guy on the. I don't know what's going on with it. Anyway,
those are Chiwis.
Have you ever been into a corner grocery store in a neighborhood that is not your own? Maybe a neighborhood that is a little low income. Have you ever been? You ever seen the snacks in there? They have like Little Wayne has his own potato chip brand.
Rap snacks. They got the Cardi B ones.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen them.
And let me tell you something. They are very good. There is and I say Little Wayne because that's, I think, the one that we bought. My son and I were traveling through Memphis, and we stopped off at a gas station in a neighborhood that we needed gas, and it was closest to the exit. So we stopped off there, and he was like, "Dad, look at this. Did you know that Run DMC makes their own pickles?" I guess they do. It's the craziest assortment of snacks that me, as a white man living in a middle-class suburb, I do not have access to. But we bought the wrap snacks, and we enjoyed the Little Wayne. I don't know what it was. Country Southern barbecue Little Wayne wrap snacks.
Yeah, I think his is the barbecue. I like the Cardi B. I think she's like sour cream and chives.
Oh, really?
She got a good one too. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. It's sour cream and whore. That's what it is.
Sour cream and whore? What did you say? What was that?
I didn't make the snacks there. I'm just reporting it.
Here, let's listen to this. We're watching somebody reporting from a grocery store who's very upset. I would be. There was nothing to buy. He's scanning. Yeah, there we go. Oh, those. Oh my goodness, that was odd. So I figured out they zoomed in on the what I said was locally branded Ruffles, and it's Anthony Davis on the cover of the Ruffles. Is he still welcome in New Orleans? He's wearing his Laker jersey.
Oh, look, personally, if I saw Anthony Davis, I would give him an apology from the people of New Orleans. He gave us 5 years of his stellar NBA career, and we just ruined 5 years of what could be a Hall of Fame career with a nothing burger all around him at all times. We wasted 5 years of his life.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Alonzo got out of there too, so it's going to be.
Oh hell yeah! Chris Paul got out of here. The smart ones got out of here. Hell, we had Brian Westbrook too. Got out of here. Go.
Okay, so what is your day like tomorrow? Will you be going to work? Are your kids going to be in work? Are they going to be in school? Or were you already told on Friday that there would be no school because you've got 15 children?
we were told on Friday there would be no school. We got an update this morning that there's going to be no school on Tuesday as well. I very well may be going into work tomorrow because the show I'm on is at 7 p.m. And so we might just be doing some hurricane updates. It might be canceled, and I'll probably at the latest go back to work on Tuesday, but that's if power comes back in time. The show that we do is usually from a home studio from my co-host house.
That's the financial show you do?
Yeah, and if he doesn't have power, we're not doing it.
And let me ask you something. You know, when you worked for me, you were broke. And this paying off for you? Is this guy helping you out? Is he, you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
Has it been fruitful, your association with this guy? Because he's a pretty big name financial advisor guy down there.
Yeah. This is the most money I've made in my life. You know?
Good.
I was doing really good when I was doing the TV show and this financial show at the same time.
I bet.
So and look, I wasn't on every day on the TV. I was their fill-in guy, but they had one year where someone left, and so I was basically filling in every other week with this other guy. We were swapping out weeks, and that was a fantastic year. If I could get another one of those, I would just be rolling. But
all right, I don't need you scoreboarding me with your success post association with me. I don't need this. I'm broadcasting from a guest house. You know, just I'm glad I'm very proud of you. I'm glad you're doing well, and I want you to be safe. And let's get you off here. Look, we're going to have time. Maybe tomorrow night you come back on and you give us an update on what daylight brought and whether or not your house flooded. We'll be interested in that. And I'll let you get to your Daniel Craig story. He's like, let's talk about Daniel Craig. And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on with Daniel Craig. So we'll get to that. And maybe God willing, we'll be able to, do the split screen and have you on for real. If not, your phone for someone calling from a hurricane has been tremendous. I don't ever want to hear you complain about your carrier.
No. And look, I have a weird spot where my house is where it gets kind of spotty. So if you've been disappointed in my phone connection before, nothing but apologies on my end. It's my fault. It's just a horrible.
That big TV news money only goes so far.
They can't put another tower by me, can they?
When you have 15 kids. All right. Yeah, you don't. You have what? How many? How many lovely little Parkers? Four. Well, I knew you when you had none. So just having four is. Yeah,
wow.
Dad, I got one, and I can't imagine how stressed out.
Part-time.
Constantly. Was that shot? What do you dad?
No.
Now he's dad score. He's post association with me scoreboarding, and now he's parental scoreboarding me. Like I need this.
All right, let me go to the bathroom.
All right, we're gonna let you go, okay? And
later.
All right, later, man. Thank you. That has been James Parker, live in New Orleans. He's one of the great ones. He's one of my favorite people. So thank you to him for coming in. Let me go over to the chat room. I haven't paid any attention to you guys. There are a couple other things that happened today. Brady says, where is he from in East Texas? He's Tyler. He's a Tyler boy, born and raised out there. So, he's pure Texan through and through. He's just stranded down there in North. He married a New Orleans beauty. Oh, and she is a beautiful wife he's got. I can see how his mother-in-law might be a very attractive woman. So let's all keep a good thought for the Parkers down there. Let's also keep a good thought for our buddy Robbie, my friend Robbie, who's down there trying to ride this thing out. All we've got so far, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. The last that I saw was that there's one confirmed death from a tree falling on somebody. There's bound to be more. Daylight's going to bring probably new sadnesses. And you know what? Maybe daylight will bring, maybe this will be one of those things where everybody was fine. I mean, yeah, we got to, because that is the concern. The concern isn't, your favorite bar being under 3 feet of water. The concern isn't, being out of power, although that is certainly a horror show to have to contend with down in New Orleans in September now. The concern is people. And, so far, early going, fingers crossed, there's only been one reported death, at least that I've seen. And again, I don't even want to check that because it's, there's a great possibility that it went up. I've never been in a hurricane. I've been through, like I said, I grew up in the Midwest outside of Chicago We have a lot of tornadoes, where the tornadoes spin up in Texas and then they get taken right through Tornado Alley and they get sucked in by the water there at Lake Michigan and they go right through Illinois. I've been through a few tornadoes, never been hit by a tornado, but I've had to hide. We've heard the sirens and I've had to go in the basement and all of that. I've had friends' houses, absolutely friends. Just overstating everything. Why? Because what do they think you're cooler if you have more than one friend whose house was leveled by a tornado? Shut up, you dummy. All right, so that's my inner demon taking me to task. I had a friend whose house was completely destroyed by a tornado back in probably 85, 86, something. And thankfully they survived. So I'm familiar with the horror of tornadoes, but my only familiarity comes with hurricanes, comes with Hurricane Rita. And I don't know, I got to check the chat rooms. I don't know if Dustin is in there. I haven't seen Dustin Seeley in there today, but Dustin knows. Dustin was with me. Dustin was a listener of our radio show where we used to go on these trips when we fill up a plane with a bunch of listeners and we go to Mexico or whatever it is. It's Mexico. It's only been Mexico. It's not like, one time we went to Paris. The second time we went to the Cannes Film Festival and then Cancun. No, I don't remember if this was Playa, Cancun or where, but we were supposed to stay, you stay for the full weekend and they like to sell you on, but Sunday, it's not like you're just going to be packing and, rushing around for the flight. You got a full day, extra day at the resort. Our flight was supposed to leave, I want to say 6:00 in the evening, something like that. And at 9:00 in the morning, Sunday morning, after a Saturday night in Cancun, you can imagine, they went around to everybody's door with banging on the door. Let's go. Hurricane's coming. Everybody out. Pack your things. Plane's leaving early. And essentially the chartered aircraft that took, radio listeners and us down there had said, look, we are not going to be leaving anywhere at 6:00. We need to leave in an hour. So we were told at like 9:00 that we needed to get our stuff together and we needed to get to the airport by this time or else that plane was leaving. And oh my goodness, the stress. Look, I always leave something behind in a hotel room anyway, whether it's a charger, a shoe, something. I always leave something. I leave a gift for the next person to stay in my room 100% of the time. And this time was, no different. I was just rushing around, filled up the bag. And you know what the craziest thing was? Is that I was in the midst of a breakup with my girlfriend when this was all going on. Most people will take a trip and they will not end up breaking up with their girlfriend in the trip. This trip, I ended up breaking up with my girlfriend, or more to the point, she ended up breaking up with me. I don't. But anyway, so it was already going to be an odd flight back, sitting next to a girl that I'd just broken up with. And it was. But now we had a Hurricane Rita bearing down on us. And oh my goodness, people, I've never experienced anything like this in all of my years of flying on airplanes. Typically, the departure from a gate in an airplane is a very specific, that follows a very deliberate course of actions on the part of the crew and the pilot. And that's all BS, because in this instance, holy cow. They opened up the doors. We all ran to the plane. I don't even think we sat in assigned seats. I think it was just, come on, you get in here, sit there. You get in there, sit there. And as people were still standing and finding their seats, putting their stuff in the overhead compartments, passing things around, the door closed and instantly it began to pull back from the gate. People are still, we were taxiing to the runway as people were still, there's 50 people in the aisle. They were sticking things and stowing things. And, stewardesses were coming around and saying, okay, this needs to be stowed different. This won't work. We can't do this, because the hurricane was coming. And as you looked out the window, you could see this Hurricane Rita, this massive wall of black. And we're in the airplane, and all I could think of is, we're going to fly on this? And I remember the pilot coming on, and he wasn't being apologetic. He was like a graduate of Top Gun school, man. He was all business. He was like, all right, you may have noticed we've got a couple of different procedures in place here. These are extenuating circumstances, and we're very happy that you chose to fly with us, but we're getting the hell out of here. He literally said that, or words to that effect. And I'm thinking, all right. And he's like, flight crew, prepare for land. They do flight crew, prepare for takeoff. And usually do that. No, it was just like, let's go. And everybody is still in the aisle. The plane was literally taking off with people not even buckled up. They're like, whatever. He told us, that you could see the storm approaching out one side of the window. He assured us all that we were flying nowhere near that as long as we got out now. So everybody was like, let's go. Why are we sitting? Why are we waiting for another 5 planes here on the runway? Let's go. Can we just go around this guy? This guy in front of us is way too slow. Oh, and once we got up in the air and once we made it away a safe distance from the impending doom of Hurricane Rita, he came on and he said, we made it, folks. We're all right. And I remember all I could think at that moment is, what did they forget? What did they forget? I know for a fact that I forgot my favorite T-shirt in the hotel room. What did these pilots? What they didn't? I'm certain that they didn't do the checklist the way that they were supposed to do it. The way that it's always been done, because that's typically about a 10-minute process. And this whole thing, getting everybody on the plane and taxiing to the runway, was about what? 90 seconds. I white knuckled it all the way home. And not just because the girl I was sitting next to had just broken up with me about, 10 hours earlier. Woo. And that was scary. That was Hurricane Rita. And we all know what happened there. Hurricane Rita destroyed, I believe it was Houston. It hit really bad too. But what was it? The resort that we were staying at, people who didn't get out, people who didn't have the chartered flight and the good travel agents who went door to door, let's go, hurricane's coming, change your plans. People didn't have that, got stuck at that resort for a week with nothing. And that resort got its ass kicked. I mean, I remember looking at the pictures. I don't know if they actually, it was the news or whatever it was, but they showed the resort that we had stayed at in what was this just absolutely beautiful slice of paradise there. It was devastated. All the palm trees were gone. The beach was completely changed. Roofs were gone. Windows were shattered. And all of those people who had stayed in these luxury conditions at this beautiful resort in, let's say, Playa del Carmen, Mexico, I mean, they were not even in their rooms. They were living in hallways of the hotel. They were living in a giant conference rooms. It was certainly, I wouldn't compare it to the madness that went down at the Superdome during Katrina, but it was very reminiscent of this and it was only about a year or two. Hurricane Rita was a year or two past, maybe. And so if you ever see Dustin Seeley in the chat room, he was one of the listeners who went on the trip with us. And he and his wife, Danielle, had the exact same experience where we were just white knuckling it out of there. It's not a good time. All right, let's see who is in there and let's see what anybody's talking about. Let's see, we got Brady Morris today. Thank you, Brady, for being with us today. You're always with us, and I really do appreciate it. LaDon is in there. Clovis is in there. I saw my buddy Ed's in there. Let's see, keep going. I can't see anymore. John, Gare, Tom. So a lot of people in there today. Mark Sherrick, great to see you too. Mark says, great to see you. Mark Sherrick and his lovely daughter. He used to be, we used to root for her. She was an ice skater. Mark, I bet she's fully grown now, Mark. You don't even have to tell me about it. Yeah, we had a nice group of people today. Okay, so I want to remind you all to join me tomorrow at noon, where we do a topics kind of segment. I go over all the things that are trending on the different platforms and we discuss them, and I just kind of free ball it. I just give you what I'm thinking, and here's this and that. We do have a couple of things though that we do need to discuss. We had some real sadness this weekend, an issue that we talked about on Friday's show. Caleb Wallace, you remember him? He was the Texas Freedom Rally guy. I don't mean to. He was anti, he was on the other side of where I am. He's got just a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful daughters, and his wife is pregnant. And he was rather You know what? I actually this weekend watched some videos from Caleb Wallace online, some interviews. And he wasn't, I was about to say he was very cavalier about and he wasn't. He was, I think he was wrong, and I think he was misguided in what he was saying, but he wasn't being provocative. You could tell he wasn't an AM radio talk show host who was just trying to stir the pot to get people to come out to his next live show. He seemed like a good man. He seemed like a decent man. He seemed like a proud Texan. He's 30 years old, gorgeous wife, 2 lovely little daughters, I'd say between the ages of maybe 6 and 10, and another one on the way. And he contracted COVID, and he was on Friday when last we spoke in the noon hour. He it wasn't looking good. Well, he passed. He passed yesterday. You know, I guess it was. I guess it was expected. But man, there was a picture going around online that was just heart-wrenching. It made me so angry. It was of course, it's the Christmas card where they all look so happy, and all I could think of is just looking at these little girls, and all I could think of is that their dad is gone. Their life has changed. We all make personal choices in life, and he made one, and it had consequences that I am absolutely certain that he never thought would be a reality. But he has passed away. So on Friday, I told you guys that there was a GoFundMe page for his wife and kids, and I encourage you to go to it. And I encourage you again. I myself dropped $20 in there. You know what? I'll tell you tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll make sure that we have the proper links for the GoFundMe stuff. I mean, this is where we become humans again, right? This is where it's all well and good until somebody dies, and then the reality of what that means to a beautiful young family is made all too clear. And so that happened. And like I said, we all have these preconceived notions about who these people are, but I invite you to go watch some of his stuff too. And I didn't see any of the rally stuff. I didn't see him on a mic in front of a bunch of people. I don't know if he was, playing to a crowd or whatever. But what I saw were 2 separate interviews where he did with 2 separate people, like-minded individuals. So it probably wasn't going to be combative or hostile. But I was shocked at what a thoughtful guy he seemed to be. And again, I say this, tragically misinformed, maybe a little bit too narcissistic about himself and about what he knew to be true and what actually wasn't. But again, okay, so we'll do that tomorrow. But I think if you just go and look for Caleb Wallace on GoFundMe, you'll find a way to help out his family. And man, they're gonna need it. It's a big, beautiful family of a bunch of little girls and a fresh widow, beautiful wife, young, so young. So that was a bummer. And okay, so before you hit the bed tonight after this, regardless of how dug in you are to your side, if you say a prayer, if you pray to somebody, then, just slip in a little thing for his family. I mean, his fate is set. He's gone. That's, depending on what you believe, that's over. But there's still 2 little girls who, God, they probably they love their daddy at that age. Come on, 2 little girls, 6 and 10 or whatever, somewhere in there. Their daddy was their whole world. He was the ideal of masculinity that they will take forward with them as they move older. And he's gone. Okay, so enough of that. Again, I'll have more details about the GoFundMe if you want to join me tomorrow at noon for High Noon with me, Pugs. I also wanted to mention something else that happened today. Ed Asner died. Ed Asner. Lou Grant. A guy who did 2 characters on 2 tremendous television shows. Mary Tyler Moore. If I were to sit here right now and scribble down a list of the 10 greatest situation comedies of all time, Mary Tyler Moore is in the top 10. There are plenty of people who might put that at number 1. But Lou Grant, of course, was the role that Ed Asner played, as Ed Asner passed at 91 years of age today. And this is another one of these things where, we need to sort of shepherd our emotions here, because Ed Asner dying is not sad. Ed Asner was 91 years old, and he kicked so much ass in his life just as a human being, just as being a dude. Lou Grant on Mary Tyler Moore, a situation comedy, spun off in the late 70s into Lou Grant, a 1-hour drama. Think about that. The same character played 2 completely different ways. First, as a comic foil to Mary Richards, and secondly, as a dramatic character in a television show that was about journalism, about real journalism in the Los Angeles Times, or I believe it was called, or Los Angeles Tribune, whatever there really is. If there is there really an LA Times? If there's really an LA Times, then it was the LA Tribune. But if there's really an LA Tribune, then it was the LA Times. But he was an editor of he went from Minneapolis, and I don't remember if they ever made reference to callbacks to his previous life, but he was in Roots. Man, let me tell you something, people. Ed Asner, I was like 7 years old when Roots came out. I knew Lou Grant from Mary Tyler Moore at that point. And, he was a big, lovable guy. He reminded me of my grandpa. He just does heart of gold, but he's got that, barbed wire exterior. When I saw him in Roots as like a 7-year-old, whoa! Because, when you're 7 years old, that's just Lou Grant wearing a beard, right? He was an evil slave guy, just racist, just a terrible. And he played that role so well. And it was so against everything that people knew to be about Lou Grant. And he, that was fantastic. Roots, his role in Roots just scared the hell out of me as a kid. I thought he was nice. I thought he was funny. Where's Ted Baxter? That's, as a 7-year-old, I had no concept that actors did different things. So he died today, and he lived a killer life. I told a story. I was talking to Dallas-Fort Worth broadcast legend Jody Dean today, and I had mentioned that I had a couple of occasions to spend a little time with Ed Asner, who died today at 91 years old. Once was just on the phone, and the other time was in Chicago when I was an intern working for the great Kevin Matthews. He did the show. No, actually, maybe this was Wendy and Bill. You know what? I'm not going to get distracted by it, but he did the show. He came in studio, and at this point, I'm in my early 20s, and I loved Lou Grant, and I loved Mary Tyler Moore, and damn right, I was an Ed head. I loved Ed Asner. Who wouldn't? People of my age, he was a cool guy. And I was so intimidated. He was like one of the first true celebrities that I ever had an opportunity to be in close contact with, because I was a young intern at the time. So I guess it would have to have been Kevin. All right. Again, I tried not to chase rabbits there, but I did. And he came in. He had one person with him, probably a PR person. I brought him back from the front desk at the radio station. We walked down the hallways. Put him in the green room, get him all set up. And Mr. Asner, it'll be about 10 minutes. We're going to take a commercial break on the other side of this. We'd love to bring you in. Whoa, that's no problem. As we were walking down the hallway, Ed Asner, I'm just some stupid intern kid, some dumb, meaning he runs into people like me all the time. Ed Asner said, "Excuse me, what's your name again?" Because I had introduced myself as my character's name on the show, which at the time was Pugs. I'm like, wow, I really went back to that well later in life, didn't I? So I said, Pugs, and he said, what is that? What was your name again? And in that gruff Ed Asner, Mary, he sounds mad. And that was my frame. That and Roots, were my full frame of reference on this guy. And the way he said it, it's not pure Ed Asner. Wait, what the hell is your name again? And I turned and I said, Pugs. And he goes, no, what are you, a boxer? And I go, no, sir. No, it's just a nickname. So what's your real name? And I go, my real name is John. And he goes, all right, John. He goes, it's nice to meet you. I don't want to meet that other Pugs guy. I want to meet you. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, this is a big star who probably meets people like me all the time, just disposable people who are in the way of his stardom, shepherding from one studio to another. And he took the time to really inquire as to who I was, and then basically made me feel like, I want to meet the real person. I don't really care about whatever this act is that you're doing. He's, I want to know you. Put him in the green room. Can I get you a cup of coffee? He's, you don't have to do that. I'm like, no, actually I do. That's my job here. You're not supposed to be wandering around. And it would honestly be my pleasure to get you a cup of coffee, Mr. Asner. I got him a cup of coffee. I brought it back to him, and he had a question that he wanted to ask me, but he didn't want to, because I was busy. Interns are constantly running around, especially on a very big major market morning show like the one that I was on. And I was running from room to room. And as I crossed paths, I popped my head in and I'm like, are you guys all right? And the person that was with him goes, actually, we need a newspaper. Ed would like a newspaper. And as soon as she got this out, Ed Asner goes, oh, Jesus, would you just leave him alone? Can't you tell that he's busy? So I got him a newspaper, asked him if he wanted a refill on the coffee, and then I brought him back down. What a guy, man. What a nice guy. I mean, I have met so many people in my life in radio, and more times than not, they disappoint. Certainly, you don't want to meet your heroes. It's the old saying, you never want to meet Superman without his cape. I have been bummed out by meeting cool people that I thought were cool celebrity types. But not Ed Asner, boy. Ed Asner, he came through. Ed Asner was, I'll give you the three that were my all-time favorite. People who really didn't seem to be affected by their stardom and were truly the princes of men that they presented. That was Ed Asner, the first. That was the first one I had. Second one was Ron Howard. Opie Taylor, Ron Howard, I'm sure that his years and years of behaviors have made all of us think, oh, that's a nice guy. Ron Howard, he is. And Tom Hanks is the other. Tom Hanks, I had an opportunity to interview him after Apollo 13. I got to sit in a room with him and talk to him for about 5-10 minutes. And Tom Hanks was Tom Hanks. So, a lot of those celebrities are jackasses, but those are three that I can tell you unconditionally are absolutely wonderful people. And Ed Asner passed today, 91 years old. And again, it's not sad. It is not sad. 91 is good. I don't even think I want to do 91. He made it to 91. What a life Ed Asner has. So keep a good thought for, Ed Asner's family. Well, at this point, it's probably great-great-grandchildren, and be thankful that you got to see all that stuff, because that guy was funny. I mean, as the straight, non-comedic boss, the party cop, that was his role, basically, who could, on occasion show you that heart of gold that he had in there. That was Ed Asner. Okay, so he passed away today, 91 years old. God love him. God love you. God love all of you. Please join me tomorrow for High Noon, where we're going to do topics. We'll check back in with James Parker possibly tomorrow and find out what daylight brought from the aftermath of Hurricane. I keep saying it wrong. It's Hurricane Ida. Is that it? Why don't I like this name? This name is very difficult. Okay, so that was that. Again, shows from this point forward will be Facebook available on the Pugs and Company page, no longer my personal page. I want to drift you all over there if you can. We'd appreciate that. And also the Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Pugs & Co. Pugscast.com. That'll get you directly to the YouTube page if you're having some trouble with Pugs & Company on YouTube. That's going to be it, folks. I appreciate y'all so much. This has been one hell of a weekend. I got stories that I left on the table because of all the hurricane talk we were doing. We'll get to all of that tomorrow night. And again, remember, tomorrow during the noon hour, we're going to come on, we're going to pop on, and we'll probably tell you what daylight brought down there in New Orleans and everything and anything else that's, important to you moving forward. That's it. Thank you, folks. This has been Pugs Moran Live on the Radio Misfits Network.